Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all so much for being here. I come from Knoxville, Tennessee, and my daddy, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Daddy enlisted United States Marine Corps and did his service over there, and was on a couple islands. One was Peleliu, and the other island was Okinawa. And after the war, he went to China and fought the communists. But my mama, she lost her brother Roy fighting the Nazis in the hedgerows shortly after D-Day. He was too old to go. He enlisted. He was heavily educated. And he came home. They sent him home, and they needed bodies, and he went back. And, of course, he died, I believe, 15 days after the invasion. To the day I died, when they played the national anthem, my mama would always tear up. I knew she was thinking about her brother Roy. And with that, I was fortunate enough to be in the state senate in Tennessee with now Congressman Cohen, but he was a state senator then, and I was a state senator. And he chaired the Holocaust Commission, and he knew my love of the Jewish folks, and he put me on the Holocaust Commission. And I came up with the idea of actually building a Holocaust memorial in West Knoxville, in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we built that, and I'll never forget my parents. They're both in heaven now, but they were in their 80s, and I was laying sod out one day, and my friend Bernie Bernstein, who's a very prominent lawyer in town, had given us the words that they put on the stone. And I remember this lady came up and said, I said, "What are y'all doing here?" And she was not from there. I could tell by her accent. And my mama said, see, Mama was in her 80s, and she was about 5 foot nothing. And she said, "Well, we're building a memorial." And the lady said, "Who's the memorial to?" And she said, "The Jewish folks that died in the Holocaust." And that woman, I'll never forget, said, "We got enough monuments in this town." And my mom, all 5 foot nothing of her, stood up, dusted herself off, and looked at this woman right in the face and said, "Not in this park, we don't, ma'am." That lady moved on. My parents were very good people. They were righteous people, and I appreciate what y'all are doing here, and I appreciate we need to let our young folks know that it's not just some black and white thing on the History Channel, and that 6 million people were murdered. And I hear all this political correctness that they were eliminated. No, they were murdered. They were murdered, and that word needs to be used every time. And I thank y'all so much, and I appreciate your passion. I have a lot of passion about that myself. I was fortunate enough to go visit Israel this year, and I only wish my folks could have been able to do that. That would have been something for them. And with that, I just had one question, ma'am, maybe sir, maybe both of y'all want to try to answer this. Which specific European countries are you particularly concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism? You know, I've heard France, I read the news, but you don't know what's getting filtered and what isn't. And I was just curious what you all think. And sorry about my long talk. I cut off all the time.
I don't know how you feel about cloning, but I'd love to clone your mama.
Yes, ma'am. She was a wonderful woman. How would if I could have her back for 1 minute?
More people like that, irrespective of their height.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to answer your question and not answer your question. Virtually all of them. France is in a very, very difficult situation. And we've seen that, and we've seen it repeatedly, and President Macron has talked about it, as have other French officials. In Brussels, I was speaking to a woman who's a member of the Belgian Parliament, and she told me that she had asked her two teenage children not to wear their Jewish star, and she said, "I was embarrassed to ask them and glad when they agreed to put it under their shirt."
Was this homegrown? Do you think it's homegrown, or is it imported, or is it through the internet?
Some of it is homegrown. Some of it is coming from recent arrivals, particularly from Muslim countries, and some of it is coming from, increasingly from the right. Halle was from the right. Halle, Germany, the attack on Yom Kippur was from a rightist. Some of it is coming from Muslims, and this is acknowledged. I'm part of a Muslim-Jewish dialogue advisory group, and we talk about it. There has been an inculcation, sometimes from imams, sometimes from YouTube, sometimes from newspapers, of antipathy towards Jews. So this may be someone who'll never take a machete, never take a bomb, but who sees a Jew on the street and knocks off the yarmulke. And there's the story of what happened in Berlin about a year and a half ago of an Israeli Arab who lived in Berlin, who had gone back to Haifa for a visit, and one of his Jewish friends gave him a kippah, gave him a yarmulke, and said, but don't wear it in Berlin because you'll get beaten up. And this young Arab couldn't believe that, so he decided to test it. And he wore it in the streets of Berlin, and he was attacked. And because he speaks Arabic, he's a native Arabic speaker, he understood that the person attacking him was someone who spoke with Arabic with a heavy Syrian accent, and beat him up. So, you don't have to be Jewish. But so I can't single out one country. Each one has its problems. And the president of Germany just said, we haven't addressed it. In Germany, you have it, again, from the left, often expressed as an antipathy, a hatred of Israel, and you have it from the right, Halle, the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, and others.
Well, thank you. I've run over my time, but if you ever catch me in the hall, I'll show you a cool picture of my mama. She flew an airplane during the war.
My God.
I've bored Miss Bamberger with this story many times, but I'm very proud of my mom and daddy. They were wonderful people. Thank you all so much for being here.